Sorry, you muted.
Good morning. Just kidding. All right, sorry. Okay. How's everybody doing today?
We're so happy about lumbering.
So happy about Long Rim? All right. So let's see here. I'm going to show you guys something. I didn't think I was going to show this, but I changed my mind. So we're moving into, so we just did, that's funny. We just did 7 classes on the Vinaya. First of all, okay, I want to take a few steps back. I've been up since 4. I'm completely awake. It is really cool to see so many of you coming to the mixed nuts classes. Like I'm seeing like a lot of you going, and it's important. I think it's like if you really, really are a nerd about all of this, but want to get really deep, it tickles me when I'm in class and I'm seeing how many people are in this class are going to the mixed nuts. So this isn't a guilt trip, but I think it's beautiful, to see so many of you studying in different places, right? And getting the lineage in different ways. So that was the first thing. The second thing is, we just finished 7 classes on Vinaya, which frankly, when I first did it, I was incredibly bored and thinking it was like, why, like, what are we doing? And I hope that, that it kind of came across not so boring, but maybe more inspirational of like, how can you become, curious about the world that you see and then why you see it? Why do you see the world the way you see it? And who were you back then? Who planted the seeds to create the world that you see? And then what world, more importantly, do you want to design? What do you want to get to? And what do you want to create? So, and that becomes the foundation for just about everything. I was thinking there's a whole section in today's class about the lineage of Lamrim teachers. And I was going through the various traditions of lineages, in each, and I went through the Vajrayogini lineage yesterday, like from Vajrayogini all the way to right now. And I was like, this is pretty damn cool. Like all these people dedicated their lives to bring something. Like they dedicated their lives to sharing and teaching what they knew to the next generation. And I was like, in the Vajrayogini sadhana, like, all these people, like these lineage holders, get one line. Like they get one line for us to remember them. Right? Sakya punching Ganchan Kepeche, no, right? It's like I make supplication to Punchin, Lord and Masters of Tibet, of the Sakya, the land of the Sakya, the Pale Land. Right? Sorry, translators. One line. I know. Don't worry. You weren't supposed to be able to translate it, actually. So one line, right? They get one line for us to remember them. They lived an entire life, right? And there's one line. I mean, there's probably some biography somewhere in the ALL database, but this person's life was summed up in one line. I make supplications at the feet of Punch and Lord of Masters of Tibet, right? And you're like, that person then pass it on to the next person, and that person pass it on to the next person, and that person pass it on to the next person. 42 in the Vajrayana lineage, 42 lamas, right? But like, if you really think about it, it's like there's branches, right? Because what happens next, right? So here I am, I'm teaching you, right? Like, yay, it's 6 a.m., right? And at some point in the Vajrayana sadhana, there might be a line that says, right, let's see, what does it say? I make supplication at the feet of Pittsburgh Lama, right? Right. I'll never see it because you don't get a line until you die. That's not true. But they'll remember me as that, right? 40 generations. But the point is not me. The point is you. 66 people right now. Make my life miserable. My life's not miserable, Payling. It's you. Like, what are you going to do? It's kind of becoming your responsibility. Like, are you going to be the next one? Are you going to be the person in the line of 42 lamas who then decided to stop, then not teach it? Are you going to be that person? I sure as hell hope not. But that's kind of the whole point, because it's a lineage that gets passed on from students to teacher. Like, how does one live a good life? How does one live an ethical life? How does one take care of others? And through that process, through the Lam Rim, then you can get to a place where, maybe you can transform things. You can start turning your normal world, into an extraordinary one. Not just for you, but for others. Right? You can do that. And that's the whole point of this course is we start with the foundations. Here's everything you need to know about the foundation, about the Vinaya. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at all the cameras that are off and trying to see who's in the class. How many faces are hiding? Okay. All right. You're hiding. So what we're going to do in the last 3 classes is understand what is Lam Rim, steps on the path. Steps on the path, A to Z, beginning to end. How does one go through that whole process? One, to live just a good freaking life. Like, that's a knife. That's nice. And that's enough. It's not enough, but it's sufficient. And then how do you begin to transform things? How do you move along the path? How do you have the realizations that you need? Or the order of realizations that generate a powerful kind of presence in the world, a powerful kind of deep listening, a powerful kind of care and service of others. how do you do that? So we're gonna talk about it, right? And that's what, and I happen to love Lam-Rim. It's my thing. Like it's really my thing. You know, my first Lam-Rim class, I was taking a yoga teacher training. I'm getting old enough and I've taught enough that I don't have any more unique stories. You probably have heard them all. But I was in my yoga teacher training like 2 weekends in, 3 weekends in. And my teacher, dear Will, came up to me and he said, yeah, there's this thing called Lam-Rim. He kind of whispered it. It was like this little whisper. And that's actually, it's kind of important that it was a whisper. Um, and he said, you should go do this thing called Lam-Rim. And I was like, it was like, how do I say this? It was like when, if you ever, let's say, you walk into a restaurant and you're meeting some friends and you see the table across the room and there's somebody at the table that you don't know. And immediately you're like, who's that? Right? All your Tinder swiping, all of your all your intentions of finding the perfect partner, right? None of it has worked up until this moment, right? You walk in, and I'm sure you've had this moment where you just see somebody for the first time and you can taste, like, you could almost taste the future with them. Okay. And you just know, you're like, from across the restaurant, you haven't even seen their face yet. You've just seen them sitting in a chair talking to somebody else, right? And you walk over and you sit down and you say hello, and they say hello, and it's like, hello, hola, right? and and then you just don't care about anybody else for the moment, right? And you just talk in low voices to each other, and everyone else at the table is like, oh, okay, there it is, right? And it was like that for me. Said Lam-Rim, and I was like, and it was like seeing them in a restaurant for the first time. And but of course I had no idea what it was. The seat opened and I'm like, woo, like I'm in love with these words. And I I flew to Phoenix. It was, it was a 5 hour flight at the time. And I had the fortune. It was an incredibly inexpensive flight round trip. And I get there and I'm just listening to Geshe Michael and I'm seeing all these students. I don't know anybody. And all of a sudden he says, I think Lam-Rim is like 10 days. Oh, we're doing Lam-Rim 10 days. I'll learn all about Lam-Rim in 10 days. And he says, well, it's going to be he's like, we're going to do Lam-Rim 4 times a year, 10 days each. So 40 days of Lam-Rim a year, classes, not to mention the practice. And he said, yeah, and we're going to do it for about 10 years. And I was like, yes, fuck yes. And here's some advice for everybody. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. Okay. If it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. All right. Use that as a barometer when you're trying to make a decision. Not always, but it's pretty good. But I was like, hell yeah, that's okay. I'm in. 10 years. It's actually going to be 20 years Geshe Michael has promised to finish the, Pabonka Rinpoche's gift of liberation thrust into the palm of your hand. And the Lamrim Chemo, the emptiness chapter of the Lamrim Chemo by Jason Kappa. So it was 20 years. He lied. Or he skillfully said, oh, it'll be about 10 years. And something weird happened where I just said, yes, I'm going to do this. All right. And 10 years later, 13 years later, here I still am, right? Lamrim 45. 45 10-day programs. Are you kidding me? It's insane. Beautiful. And we're celebrating ACI's 30th anniversary. Get the flyer up, somebody. Get me the flyer. So we're going to be in Kyoto, Japan. It's actually only a 6-day program. And we're going to be in a section of the Lamrim. It's about developing the good heart. Lojong, right before it's in the media. We're transitioning from medium scope to higher scope practitioners before we really get deep into the Mahayana practices. And it's mainly advices on what to do when your life is challenging, when you face a challenge. And the whole event's designed around the idea of how does one bring a good idea into life? How do you take an idea and make it real? How do you pull it out of your head as an image, as a creative imaginations, and then how does it become reality? What are the seeds to make it reality, and what are the anticipated obstacles that you'll face, and how do you face unanticipated obstacles? Because nothing ever goes the way you plan, of course. So Lamrim 45. So here we go. So in the next 3 classes, we're gonna go over an overview of the Lamrim. We're gonna be doing Jason Kappa's Song of My Spiritual Life. Okay. And it's a short Lamrim. It's the Lamrim Dudun. If anyone cared about the Tibetan. Let me get you some pictures so you can see them. Nope, that was going to show that better. Oh, I want to show this first. This is 2 or Lamrim 4. Look at that. Look at that cute little boy 13 years ago. Right? That was with my teacher, right? Lamrim 2, I think. Maybe Lamrim 4. I don't know. Right? So we're going to be studying the Lamrim Dudun, which means how Roxana's translating. Who else is a Tibetanologist? What does this mean? Lamrim Dudun. Let's see.
道次第的意怎么经后面是意义啊？前面是Lamrim是道次第啊。
Maybe that maybe was meant. I just
像肯定要
can I get a translator? I'm sure you said it. Thank you.
好吧
Can you say it again?
Lamrim 道次第的顿Lamrim
Dudun.
to dome, to dome,
Good job.
long
Excellent.
to dome.
Perfect. Thank you. Good job. So what it means is it's the brief presence, it's the brief presentation on the steps in the path. Short. Where did it go? Oh, you guys can't see it anymore. Haha, sorry. Something weird happened. Let's try it again. Where did you go? There you are, right? The brief presentation, the brief presentation of the Lamrim on the steps on the path. It's also known as Namgyur, which is a song of your spiritual life, which is a beautiful translation of that. Written by our famous Tracy. Who was it written by? His name was Jason.
Jason.
That's right, Jason. Yes, exactly. And what are Jason Kappa's years?
1357 to 1493.
Oh, close, but not quite. Sandra got it. The 1357, yes. But it's 1419. Okay. And then we're actually going to be studying a commentary by Choni Lama called the Ningpo Dorden Sowa, which means it's like the brief illumination of the essence. Does anyone know Choni Lama's dates? It's another good person's dates to know, since we study a lot of his works. Okay, 1675 to 1748. Let me show you guys how I memorize dates. Oops. I use my phone and I'm like, and so I memorize, okay, 1357, right? So I memorize the motion on the keypad. So if I'm trying to memorize numbers, I see the keypad and I go do do do, right? And in my mind, I see the number and I see the keypad and I see myself pushing the buttons. Except there's not buttons anymore. That's such a legacy thing. That's when you know you're old. Buttons on a phone. Some of you don't even know what a button is on a phone. Too young for that crap. No, Natalia's like, no, I know a button. How many people had the circle ones where you had to dial one number? Yeah. We had them till I was like 15 because it cost an extra $5 a month to have the push buttons that with the dial, like what do they call it? Touch tone, they called it. Right. My parents were like, we're not paying that $5. Anyway. So, right. So that's how you can memorize numbers really quickly. Yeah, so we're going to be studying Jason Kappa's brief presentation on the steps on the path. Okay. So at the very, very beginning, at the beginning of most Buddhist texts, right? Any of these, I would say any kind of spiritual text. You know, it's like there seems to always be a bowing down, a prostration, like an honoring. Like you're already honoring. Namgyur is song of my spiritual life. And it's spelled obscure like that, I think. Yes. Lost my thought. So you're already honoring. Can you please repeat the name of Choni Lama commenting? The commentary of Choni Lama. Okay. You guys can look at the homework. You can look at the answer key. It's brief illumination of the essence. That's the book we'll study. So there's already an honoring to teachers, right? There's already an honoring to the lineage. And so normally at the beginning of a book, you're quite welcome, Sandra. And normally at the beginning of any book, you know, the person or the idea that you bow down to really indicates what the book is about. Mainly, not entirely. So who do you think Jason Kappa bows down to? And you do not look at the answer key. Oh, damn it. Okay, good job. Why? Now we need a why. Okay, Manjushri, Jampo Yang. Gentle voice. Jampo Yang Nungyur. Nun, oh, wait. I messed it up. Anyway, well, I'll figure it out in a second. Was it his angel? That's a good way of thinking about it. You know, Jason Kappa was considered to be an emanation of Manjushri. Okay. Right. He was considered to be an emanation, and Manjushri typically is depicted with a sword and a cup in his hand, a sword in one hand and a cup in another hand, typically. Okay. So he was considered to be, oh, I see why that's not working. Hold on. Let's go back over here. There, now we can do this. So he's considered to be Adapachanandi. Nice. That is Manjushri's mantra. Adapachanandi. If anyone wants a mantra. Repeat after me. Turn on your microphones. Ra.
Ra.
Pa.
Okay. Na. Di. Okay, we'll do it again. Yeah. Nadi. There you go.
Nadi. Nadi.
Okay. Nice. Okay, good. So when you do this mantra, you're actually supposed to do the D at the end. You're supposed to repeat the D as many times as you can before you run out of breath. So here we go. So you take a big deep breath. Adapachana. No. You're not supposed to do it out loud. You're supposed to listen to me. You messed it up. Well, I'm just kidding. So that's what you're supposed to do with that mantra. That was fun. So what does the mantra mean? You guys, I'll teach you some other time. So Manjushri, Jason Kappa is Manjushri, is an emanation of Manjushri. So how do we honor this? This is completely going off into left field. So just hold on for a second. So in Jason Kappa's mantra, and I'm pulling this from the Jason Kappa sadhana, which we can do that sometime if you would like. And the mantra is number 11, verse 11. Make my sewe terchen chenren se dream kempe wakon japo yang dupu mala jump the sanganda gachin kempe sukan so kampa lobsan drop by shala so one dep. That's his mantra. So each line is an honoring to Jason Kappa and different emanations of him, I guess. So the first line is about Chen Rizig, Avalokiteshvara. Jampo Young is Manjushri. Let me see, what is it? The keeper of the secret is what you translate it, right? And we'll call it Sangwei Duck, I guess. Right? So in the mantra, if you look at number 11, sorry, translators, I didn't get this to you early enough. So the first one is, I'm praying to loving eyes, Avalokiteshvara Chen Rizig. I then pray to the soft, glorious voice, Manjushri. And then you pray to the keeper of the secret, who smashes all the army of demons. And then you pray to Tsongkhapa, and his name is Lobsang Drakpa. Okay. So these are actually all different emanations of the same being. Okay. And you'll learn about that a little bit later, what that all looks like. You know, in different, how do I say this? Different beings can take different forms based on the skillful means that they're using to tame their disciples. So typically we call it the 4 modes of a teacher, where there's the peaceful mode, there's the generous mode. For $25, what are the next 2? Get it?
Power and fierce.
Powerful and fierce. Who was that?
Janet.
All right, Janet, $25 when I see you in Kyoto. I'll take you out for a coffee.
Thank you.
So the 4 modes are, you know, peaceful, which is also one of the, you know, the young version of Manjushri. Okay. Generous, right? For $25, right? You give your students stuff. Okay. There's the powerful, right? Which is mainly the mode of Vajrayani. Then you have wrathful, right? Which kind of would be the mode of like Yamantaka, for example. And it doesn't mean you look like any of those. It's the energy that you bring to teach and tame students. Right? So which one is Jason Kappa? Is he Manjushri? Is he Chen Rezik? Is he the keeper of the secret, which is a Vajrayana version? Is he Lobsang Drakpa? Who is he? Which one is he? Is he both? Is he all 4? How can someone be 4 things, people? How can someone be all 4 things? There is one answer to this question, and it's worth, okay, you said the answer before I offered money. So, blah, good job. It depends on who's looking. It depends on your seeds. Your teacher to you could appear like Vajrayani or Yamantaka or Tara or Shakyamuni Buddha. And to someone else, they could just look like a normal, whatever person who's walking down the street. Which one are they? Right? And it depends on who's looking. Depends on the seeds you have. And that's kind of the point of the Lam Rim, is how do you develop the seeds necessary to transform your world and yourself. So here we go with lineage. Yay. Here's the lineage of the Lam Rim. It starts with Buddha, Lord Buddha. Okay. Right? The one who sees all things, total omniscience. You know, whose speech fills, this says here is beautiful, fulfills the hopes of all, of living, fulfills the hopes of infinite living beings by teaching them, and whose body comes from all the good things they've done. Okay. So their body, speech, and mind, their holy body, speech, and mind. Their body comes from the things they do. Their speech teaches, and their mind sees the totality of things. Okay. It's a pretty cool picture of Buddha. All right, so the next lineage is, we just spoke about it, it's Manjushri, gentle voice. All right. So gentle voice. So what we say, the way we talk about it in the Lam Rim is that both this person and the next, Maitreya, the unconquerable loving one, which is kind of how I translated it too. These two Buddhas came to this world to be, and they pretended to be only bodhisattvas, just mere bodhisattvas. And so they came to do two things, right? They came to spread two different kinds of teachings. Manjushri came to teach the teachings on emptiness. Okay. That was his main role as a Buddha, pretending to be a bodhisattva, teaching emptiness. Right. And mainly, okay. It didn't mean he didn't teach other things. Right. And then Maitreya, who is the author, speaker of the Abhisamaya Alankara, which happens to be the book I'm translating through Arya Sangha. He came mainly to teach about the widespread activities, like the activities of a bodhisattva. What does a bodhisattva do in the world? Like, how does a bodhisattva love, and love through actions, doing, right? So these two cool guys, and I'm going to say this because this is my view on it. Like, these two cool guys, right? They kind of, in my view, you know, for some reason we see them in the masculine form, and maybe that's a cultural thing. But I also see like a lot of images of them in a sort of more androgynous kind of way. Like there is male and female aspects in a lot of the images. And this is why I really like this particular image of Maitreya. Right? There is, to me, there's both a feminine and a masculine quality in this statue. And so you can think about that if you would like to think about it. So these two guys, bodhisattvas, these two androgynous beings, okay, don't quote me on that, please. Manjushri and Maitreya, they taught some people on some peoples, right? So first, Manjushri taught Nagarjuna, right? So Nagarjuna mainly teaches about emptiness. And then Maitreya taught Asanga. That's not a picture of Asanga, but it's the picture I like to imagine Asanga as. All right. Asanga carrying, you know, the story of the dog. He sees the dog on the side of the street. The dog's about to die. He takes the worms out of it, and the dog turns into Maitreya. right? And so Asanga carries Maitreya on his shoulders through the town, and nobody sees it. And one person sees like a dead dog around his shoulders, right? So that's why I like this picture a lot. This is not what Arya Sangha looked like, but maybe if Arya Sangha emanated today, he might look like that strapping young man. Okay. Right. Looking out longingly over the water. Okay. So those two, Nagarjuna, Nagarjuna, Arya Sangha. All right. Then we have this guy called Atisha. And his teachers, there's a whole long story of this, and we're not going to go into it right now, of how he got the teachings. But he got the teachings from Sir Lingpa in Vidya Kokila to learn both the widespread activity and the profound view of emptiness. He learned the widespread activities from Sir Lingpa and learned the emptiness side of the teachings from Vidya Kokila. Right. So what was special about Atisha and his teachings? So here's Maitreya and Master Asanga. He grabbed those, he got those teachings from Sir Lingpa. Maitreya and Nagarjuna, he got those from Vidya Kokila. And then he merged them into, he combined these two streams of teachings into one. Kind of merged them together into one teaching on the path. Okay. Because you need both. You can't have one or nor the other. And it's not like Maitreya or Manjushri didn't teach the full thing. They just had their personal preferences. Like I have my personal preferences for Lamrim. Okay. There's other teachings that are equally as valuable. And then Atisha merged them together. So that's the main lineage of the Lamrim, right? And then there's just a whole lineage of teachers from them up until today. And they go all the way up into your own teacher. And then it actually goes on to you, because you are the next in the line. Okay. So I think it's funny because in almost all teachings, there's always this example of a wish-giving jewel that's in the ocean. And we heard it in the Vinaya. And funnily, we actually hear it again. Okay. So from the Vinaya perspective, the Vinaya is a wish-giving jewel. Well, in the Vinaya, what is the wish-giving jewel? How about that? Did you do your homework? The vows. Thank you, Tracy. Somebody did their homework, right? It's the vows. The vows are your wish-giving jewel, right? So in Lamrim, on the steps in the path, is that Lamrim is the wish-giving jewel, because it fulfills the wish, every wish of those who seek freedom. Why? because it gives you the karma in the minimum to have a higher birth and to have definite good in your life, right? They can get you there. So which one is the real wish giving jewel? Is it the vows or is it Lam Rim? It's all of it. It's like when someone says, this is the best part. This is the most important text in Buddhism ever. This is the best part. This is the most important part. Yeah, well, guess what? It's all important. Depends where you are in the path. So the teachings are like an ocean because they combine all the meaning of in all the scriptures, which is also what they say in Vinaya too. Right? Literally, the answer was, I think, copied from the homework from like 3 homeworks ago. And you just switch Vinaya with steps on the path. So you can meditate on what that means. Well, which wish-giving jewel is the wish-giving jewel? Okay, no one finds it as interesting as I do. We're going to move on. Okay. So there's 4 great qualities of Lam Rim, and this is what I really want to talk about. And this is where, and this is, okay. So what's this picture? This picture says, for translators, it says, obviously you need to read it out loud. It says, this is not graffiti. Right? But it is, right? Somebody painted on someone else's wall illegally. It's not their wall, which breaks the freedom vow number 2 of not protecting other people's things. This is not graffiti, but it is graffiti because it's on the wall and someone painted it on someone else's wall. So just like this, the Lam Rim, when you're studying the Lam Rim, is that you realize that all the teachings, whether they're direct or they're indirect, is that everything is a path to total enlightenment. Everything is the path. And that the entirety of the Buddhist teachings are free of inconsistencies. They do not contradict each other. Gelme. They do not contradict each other. So when the teachings might appear to contradict, or you're like, well, the Buddha said this, but the Buddha said that, the different turnings of the wheel. Like, oh, well, Buddha, you said in the first turning of the wheel that everything, that things have self-existence. Things have a nature of their own. And then in the second turning of the wheel, you said nothing has a nature of its own. And then so someone comes along and says, well, Buddha, what's the deal? How could you have said things have a nature of their own over here, and then over here you say they don't have a nature of their own? Then the third turning of the wheel is, well, what I meant to say was some things have a nature of their own and some things don't. So which turning of the wheel is correct? I'm going to give you 3 options. Option 1, things have a nature of their own. Option 2, nothing has a nature of its own. Option 3. Well, what I meant was some things have a nature of their own and some things don't. Which one is the correct turning of the wheel? Well, I would say that I think we're going to stick with Sandra's answer. Again, it depends on who's listening. The first turning of the wheel is like Abhidharma. The second turning of the wheel is like Diamond Cutter Sutra, Heart Sutra. Third turning of the wheel is mind only. So if you're a mind only person, where you think some things have a nature of their own and some things don't, then that's the correct turning of the wheel, and all the other ones are wrong. That's the literal interpretation. And the first and second wheel are figurative. But if you're a prasangika, higher middle way, then you say, well, actually the Buddha was being figurative in the third and was being literal in the second. What? So that's the point, is that you have to see that the teachings are actually not contradictory, that they are a path. Okay. When you learn mathematics, it's not that early math is wrong. It's just it becomes a foundation to understand differential equations. Basic Newtonian physics, the apple falling from the tree is okay. It's sufficient. But it really doesn't describe the motion of the apple from the tree to the ground. You need to have much more complicated mathematics to do it. So which one's correct? Well, for the 9th grader in high school, their brain can't handle differential equations. Okay, you can't do integral calculus. So you get algebra. And that's okay. Algebra is okay, but it doesn't do enough. The mind only is okay. In fact, mind only is good enough that it can lead you to success in Vajrayana. All right. Well, that's an interesting claim, Jason Kappa, that the mind only school, the third turning of the wheel, which is not entirely correct, is enough to become correct, to become a sema, to become a being who's completely perfected. What does that mean? Stay tuned. 3 years. So you realize that everything in the Lam Rim is internally consistent. And everything is a factor to become enlightened. It's like a puzzle. All right. The second major quality of the Lam Rim is that when you hear a teaching, it sounds like the teacher is talking directly to you. It doesn't matter if there's 80 people on the Zoom. You hear the words that come out of the teacher's mouth as personal advice to you. That strikes you like lightning, right? It's striking you in your heart. And then the weirdest thing is then when you're sitting in the room and everybody's getting struck by lightning, and it means something completely unique to each of the people. So there's some secret messages that Lamrim teaches you to look specifically at yourself in the moment that you're hearing the teaching. We froze. Okay, sorry, I froze. I don't know if you heard me. It's interesting. It froze when I said, okay, a secret message. It was a secret message. You know, it's a personal advice to you and to you and your life and your circumstances. Right? It just hits you like lightning. And it should be that way. That's the second great quality of the Lamrim. And then the third is that you understand, you grasp the true intent of the Buddhas, that how every single teaching they give is directed at our enlightenment. And nothing they say is never not directed towards our enlightenment. You know, and this is a very special seed to have. You know, so this is why I chose the alphabets, you know, soup, right? Anytime you listen, you're able to make sense of it. And you're able to hear that it is directed towards reaching the highest goals. And it's a special seed to hear things that way. The other day, a friend of mine brought his phone up to me and he says, listen to this. And he, you know, played this like voice message. Not voice message, but it was a voice recording. And I was listening to it. And it was a teaching given that had a secret message in it that you could only hear on the recording and you couldn't hear it live. That the teacher said something that didn't make it out the speaker, but made it onto the recording. It was really cool. And then the weird thing that happened, and the reason I'm telling you this, is that, for example, like if I said to you, how many bright yellow sun-colored cars are there in your town? And you probably would say, well, Tim, we don't really see yellow cars very often. Okay, but now that I told you that there's a yellow car in your town, you're going to see it. All right. Has that ever happened to you? Like you've never talked about something, you've never seen it, somebody says it, and then you see the thing everywhere. And the funny thing is, the person who told me this, okay, so here's what happened. They gave me, it felt like personal advices. Like I got to listen to the recording, hearing something that wasn't heard in class. And then what weirdly started happening is I started hearing things my teacher was saying that nobody else was hearing. Like literally in the middle of a sentence, they would say something else to me and only to me, and no one would hear it. I was like, were they doing this the whole time and I just didn't hear it? You know, there was this weird thing going on, right? So now I'm like, now I'm like listening even more carefully for the teachings. Like there it is for you. There it is. It's for you. It's for you. It's all for you. And your seeds start changing, where you become like positively paranoid that everything you hear, everything you perceive is just a voice of the Buddha saying, wake up, wake up, wake up, right? Even when someone's yelling at you, or they're criticizing you, or you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling lonely, the feeling of loneliness could also be the voice of the Buddha as well. So Lam Rim teaches us to develop this capacity. And then the final quality of Lam Rim is that you're protected from the great mistake of rejecting any of the teachings that are coming to you. It says rejection of any of the Buddhist teachings. But I think your thinking is much subtler than that. It's not just the Buddhist teachings, it's the teachings that you get personally all day long. Because you won't reject them. You're protected, right? You're protected because you know they can help you get to the highest goals. So in some ways, these four are similar. They're different, but they're similar. And what Lam Rim starts to teach you is to have a suspicion that maybe I could be being helped even when don't think I'm being helped. In Lam Rim, the meditations, each of the steps, the analyzing of it, the thinking about it, how does this apply to my life? How can I use this in my life? And then it starts planting very powerful seeds, because Lam Rim is the door to the Diamond Way. It's a door to the higher teachings. They are the teachings, if you have the ears to hear it. They are. So the cool thing about Lam Rim is if you do a short one, like the Lam Rim Dudun, that you can get all the steps on the path from beginning to end in a single teaching or in a very short period of time. So you have the virtue of hearing every single teaching, every single step in a very quick way, right? It's like a total eclipse. Like you get the whole thing, the whole shebang, as we say in English, right? The whole kit and caboodle. Don't worry, translators. It just means totality. Like you get the greater way, you get the lesser way, you get all the steps completely. And there's a huge virtue to listening to all of that. And it plants a very powerful seed in their mind. So I'm super excited about Lam Rim, as you guys can tell. Well, we have two options right now. So I'm going to have to change some of technically this is class 9, but we just finished class 8. And class 10, which is scheduled next Tuesday, is going to have to change because I'm going to be in an airplane. Okay. I have a worldwide trip. I'm going to Thailand, Shenzhen, and then Kyoto, and then Malaysia. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I wasn't expected to leave so early, but I'm going on a trip to Thailand for fundraising purposes. Poor me. I know my life is so hard, Tracy. Poor me. Wow. So we have a couple options here. We have 2 classes left in the ACI. We have to do class 9 and class 10 and kind of a review. I could schedule 3 more classes, which I will. Or, okay, actually what we need to decide right now is we have 20 minutes. I can go on to class 9 and start teaching class 9. I don't have all the images, but I know the material because I love LumRim. Or we could do 20 minutes of Q&A. I'm gonna diamond deal you guys. Do you want Q&A now, or do you want to go on in the LumRim? It's up to you. We got one LumRim, got LumRim, got LumRim. Oh my God, you guys don't want your questions answered? Okay, voting is over. We're gonna go on. So the next major step, or the main step, if you guys haven't figured out in LumRim, is, we're gonna do that meditation at the end, is the qualities of a teacher. Finding a teacher. You have to find a teacher. You have to develop a relationship with a teacher. And what are the qualities that that teacher has? How do you find a teacher? I mean, do you just go to the ACI website? Tell us how. Yes. Part of it, there's a couple things. I think it's a couple things. One, I think it's kind of it's an act of humility in a way. An act of saying, it's kind of an act of renunciation, saying, I can't do this by myself. Please help me. And what does that mean? When you realize that you need someone, a teacher, to come and point out all the things to you that you don't see, right? That you don't see. And so part of it's an act of humility. It's an act of asking. And it's also, part of this seed is a willingness to help others, right? To take care of other people. If you're not taking care of other people, you will be unteachable. You may want a teacher, but you have to be teachable. And the quickest way to become teachable is to teach others, which creates, conventionally speaking, an act of humility, because you recognize how difficult it is to teach others and how stubborn people are. How much they don't listen, how much they're only interested in doing what they want to do and what they think, irrespective of what you say to them. Most people are like toddlers. Oh, Tim, everyone's like a toddler? Oh, really? Oh, where's that coming from, Tim? Who is the damn toddler now? Right? No, you're the toddler, Tim. You're the one who is unruly and unwilling to listen and unable to like be taught. Oh, you want to be taught, Tim? You want a teacher? You want them to tell you everything? Well, then you have to understand that you're not really listening. They've been trying to tell you. They've been calling. We've been calling you. Come home. Come home. And you're like, no, I'm going over here. They're like, no, home's over here. No, it's this way. Okay, fine. They're like, all right, well, when you come back around, we'll talk to you again. Right? Your mind does this. So when you're looking for a teacher, which in translation, this says the 10 qualities of a teacher. All right. And these are 10 qualities that the teacher should have. Translation alert. It means the 10 things that you need to plant seeds for. The 10 things that you have to plant seeds for so you can embody those things. So you can stop being a toddler. Okay. And then you'll meet a teacher and then they will depending on the type of teacher and depending on the relationship and, they will teach you when you're ready how stubborn you are and how fixed your mind is and how fixed your heart is. Sometimes people need their ego blown up. Let's just pump them full of hot air. That's what we say in English, right? I'm going to pump them full of hot air. I'm going to, it's like you blowing hot air into someone's head and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger like a balloon. You're so awesome. You're doing great. You just keep going, right? And then you're like, yeah, my teacher loves me. I'm awesome. I'm the shit, right? And then they set you up to pop that balloon when you're ready. Some people are more ready than others at different times. And stubbornness in students appears in many, many ways. Why do you have to see that, Tim? I don't know. Maybe someone's stubborn. Okay. So here we go. First quality of a lama, of a teacher. Which also means, I'm just looking something quick, which I said as translation, the seed you need to plant. Okay. Yeah, you guys got it. It's called dua. The first one is called dua. We just talked about it for 3 weeks. Dua, disciplined, become disciplined. The first quality of a teacher is that they themselves are disciplined. Right? They possess the training of living an ethical life, and they live an ethical life, and you can smell it. You can see it. The second great thing is called Shiva, peaceful. And they have training and possess good concentration. So Shiva means peace or peaceful, right? That they have that quality. Like in their presence, you feel a sense of peace. That doesn't mean that they act peaceful all the time, but you have a sense that they have good concentration, that they're able to focus. Shiva, yes. It's actually Shiva. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to send that as a private message. Shiva. Okay. Third one is completely Shiwad, completely peaceful. All right. And that means that they possess the deep understanding training on wisdom and emptiness. Right. So the first 3 things that they have, which happen to be the right? Duwa, Shiva, and Nirshiva. Vinaya, meditation, and emptiness. Okay. They got those three. That's pretty nice. And then the next one is called Yunten Lakpa, which means their qualities. This literally means like the like super high spiritual qualities, like super qualities. Okay, that their qualities. Okay, you should go to a teacher that you see as better than you. Okay, they should have some quality that is better than yours, because can't learn. I mean, you can learn from people that aren't as good as you, but you just learn not what to do. Right? In some way, the teacher should have some qualities that you admire, that you want to attain or learn from them. Like if you want to learn to play the piano well, you don't go to a salsa dancer. They're going to be like, yeah, I can teach you how to dance salsa, but I can't teach you how to play the piano. So if you're looking to, for example, I don't know, to see emptiness, maybe you should go to someone who seems like they understand emptiness well. You don't go to a salsa dancer. Well, mainly you don't go to a salsa dancer to learn about emptiness. Can the salsa dancer teach you something about emptiness? Yes. Can you turn salsa dancing into sacred dance? Yes. Could you move the winds in such a way to get them in the central channel to see emptiness directly by dancing salsa? Maybe. Can you do it on its own with no seeds to do it? No. Okay. So go to someone who knows how to do it. You want to learn the piano, again, don't go to a salsa dancer. If you want to learn about emptiness, go to an emptiness expert. All right, fifth quality. Sunche. So is that they make a lot of efforts. Like they're dedicated to achieving the highest goals for themselves and for others. You know, don't go to a teacher that only seems concerned about themselves. Right? You know, they're going to want to, I mean, you want them to see them working on themselves, of course, but they want to be focused on other people too. Right? Careful with charisma. People who are very charismatic can look like lamas and they may only be concerned about themselves. And that's why you need to check a teacher out. Go visit teachers. Go visit lots of classes. See which ones you like. See which ones you don't like. Which ones give you a good feeling and which ones give you a whatever feeling. That's the fifth. That's the fifth one. The sixth one is that they're rich in scripture. Lumgichak. And that they've studied the scriptures deeply. Let's review. Number one, Duwa. Number two, Shiva, peaceful. Number three, Ner Shiva. Number four is they have great qualities, better than the student. Number five is they make great efforts to achieve the two ultimate goals, the goals of themselves and the goals of others. Number six is they're rich in scripture, that they've studied deeply the three collections. Number seven, they have a deep realization of emptiness in the sense that they have seen emptiness directly. Well, that's a lot. Probably disqualifies most people. Maybe, depends on your point of view. But look, you know, typically in sutra, there are very few people who have seen emptiness directly. They say that it happens every 500 years or so. In sutra, that's what they say anyway. But barring not being able to find an Arya to study with, try to find someone who maybe has studied with an Arya or someone who shows a deep understanding of emptiness. And then, oh, Tim, so there's only like one Arya every 500 years. That's what the sutra says. Oh, Tim, so what are my chances? I don't know, depends on your seeds. We're just going to leave that thought like that. And I'll let you guys ponder it for a bit. The eighth quality is they're a master teacher. Okay, then. Okay. That they teach according to the teacher's, excuse me, they teach to the teacher's capacity. They teach to the student's capacity. And they will teach as slowly as necessary. Meaning, if they need to repeat things over, well, that's a later thing. But they will just take their time. Like, for example, we took 2 days on a class that should have taken 1 day, in theory, right? We took 2 days on the 10 virtues, the 10 individual vows of freedom. Why? Because it was necessary, right? I don't care if this class takes, Geshe Michael doesn't care if the Lamrim takes 10 years or 20 years. He goes as slow as necessary, which is also related to the capacity of the students that are peering. So they're a master teacher. They teach in accordance with the particular level and skill of the student. So that's one of the reasons why you need to develop that relationship with the teacher. Oh, Tim, but I'm supposed to see them as a Buddha. Okay. So they're already supposed to know everything about me because they're a Buddha, right? Oh, so when you're upset with your partner, you shouldn't ever talk to them. I'll say it again. Why should I develop a relationship with my teacher, Tim? Well, so they can help you. But my teacher's already a Buddha. I see them that way. Okay. So, Tim, if they're a Buddha, they should already know everything about me, right? Because the quality of a Buddha is they know everything, the totality of things. So they already know. Then why should I talk to them? Oh, so why should you talk to your partner if you're having a fight? I guess I shouldn't talk to my partner. I should just work on seeds. I should just work on seeds. I should never talk to anybody. Just seeds, 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 seeds. Why would you need to develop a relationship with someone who's supposed to be able to see everything about you already? Because your teacher is the garden for you to plant seeds. You can think about that. So they're the image of love, number 9. We'll get through the 10 right now. Is it they teach out of a motivation because they love the students? That they're not, it's not because they want to be famous or because they want gratitude or because they want stuff or donations or gifts or offerings or whatever. You know, they do it because they love the students. They're not asking for anything in return. And then the last one is they never get tired of teaching things over and over again. They overcome all, they say, distaste. They never tire of repeating the same thing over and over again. No matter how many times the student doesn't get it, they'll say it again. I already told you that. Oh. This happens a lot in business. I already sent that email to you. I already told you. Why don't you know that? Well, I didn't hear it. Maybe I was too busy. Maybe you don't communicate well. You know, whatever the reason I didn't get it. Maybe because I don't want to know things the way you're telling me them. I want to know them in this way because I'm the boss and I want to hear it this way. So tell me the way I want to hear it. I don't know. But a teacher never tires. Oh, you already told me that? Oh, okay. Tell me again. Or like, they just will continue to teach. Right? They'll find different ways. They'll find new ways. And a student that doesn't listen to them is probably because they have seeds in their mind of not listening to others. When you become a teacher, your seeds are in your face all the time anyway. So, but you don't tire of it. You just keep going. You just keep swimming, like we talked about last time. You just keep trying. And then you see growth. You really do see growth. And most of the times the students don't see growth. They don't see where they came from. And then you see a picture like this, right? Right. You see a picture like this and you're like, oh my God, I was such a moron. The person that I was 13 years ago, God, but my teacher was already loving me. See that? To me, it makes me like, he didn't know me. Well, maybe he did, right? Maybe he knew me. Maybe he knew that I was going to recognize how important this moment was 13 years later. I don't know. So the whole point of that list of 10 really is that so there's two things, right? First of all, like to see those qualities in the teacher, you need the karma to have that. And to do that, you have to have patience with other people who don't effing listen to you. How many times do I effing have to tell you that? Don't fucking say that to people. Just have patience. You're like, oh, I told you that yesterday. I wrote that email as per my last email. Okay, that's nice. Like, just tell them again. Like, have patience with others, right? Plant those seeds in yourself, and then you'll start seeing them in the outer world. And really, at the end of the day, if you see those qualities in yourself as a teacher, it's because you've taken care of another teacher in the past. And it's an uncomfortable thing to say that to your own students because I'm not asking you to do that. Because one of the qualities of a teacher is, what number was that? Number 9, not doing this for material gain, okay? But watch how your teachers, whomever your teacher is, how they care for their teacher. What relationship do they have with their teacher? Why do they have that relationship? One of my friends was upset with me because I wasn't paying attention to them enough. And it wasn't a not paying attention, is they didn't feel heard. They didn't feel validated. They were trying to get attention and they wanted to get feedback and I wasn't able to give it. And I was like, wonder why this is, because I'm not normally like that with them. In fact, I'm usually extremely available. And I was like, oh, I said, how many of my teachers are in the room right now? And I was like, 3. All tantric lamas. I was like, like, I was like, sorry, my mind is a little bit elsewhere because I'm taking care of their needs. I'm watching what they need, and each teacher wants things differently and they want to be cared for. Like it depends on the students too. It's a complicated class. It's a complicated idea and we could keep talking about it. But the reason I see the qualities in Geshe Michael is because he took amazingly beautiful care of his teacher, Ken Rinpoche. And we had an interesting conversation recently. A friend of mine went to Howell Monastery, then we'll be done. Went to Howell Monastery to see where Geshe-la lived. And the monks there were praising him, Geshe Michael, because he has become such a powerful teacher and a powerful Lama. And he's translating all the time. And he created the 18 ACI courses. He created the 18 Vajrayana courses. He's created 15 DCI courses. He's writing curriculum for a university right now. He's translating and translating and translating with 12 translators, amazing books and preserving them. He's a powerhouse of preservation and teaching. And the reason they believe, or the reason they say he can do that and why it's ripening for him now is because he served his teacher perfectly. He was devoted to his teacher. Now, what that looks like is in a lot of ways unique to each student. So the way it looks to a student and looks to a different student, they could be equally devotional in completely different ways. Why is that? It's because it's coming from your seeds. Right. Yeah, we got significantly into class 9. And the last thing I want to say, because I can't leave it at that, is that I just want to make it clear, is that the qualities that you see in the Lama are not coming from the Lama, but they're coming from you. And it could never have been any other way. And the faults that you see in your Lama are also coming from you. And the goodness that you see in your Lama is also coming from you. And the more pure that you become, the more you'll realize how pure your Lama actually is. Actually is. And with that, thank you. And I'm going to schedule 2 more classes. I think we can get through everything in 2 more classes and do a bit of a review as well. Cool. Thank you, translators. I think I spoke really fast today. I'm sorry. Thank you, all the recording people. Thank you to all the admins who are communicating with each and every one of you in your own languages. So I'm thinking we'll probably do a class. I'm going to talk to the admins and then we'll schedule it very soon. So thank you all very much. Very much appreciate you. And let's say goodbye.
Bye, Tim. Thank you. Have a good trip then.
Thank you so much, Tim. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Tim.
Cảm ơn thầy.
Thank
you.
Chào
Thank
Tim,
you.
con
Thank you, Tim.
谢谢老
谢
师，
谢
谢谢老师，谢谢 Tim 老师，谢谢
谢
Sharon 老师。
Thank you.
Thank you,
Gracias, Tim.
谢谢
谢
Sharon
谢
老师
翻译老
翻译，谢谢
师。
Tim 老师。
Gracias, Tim. Buen viaje. Quédate, sigue enseñando.
Thank you for your generous.
Bye bye.
See you guys later.